Hey everyone, Tracy Barkley, Keto Comic, coming at you with another video. Today I have another response video, this time from a vegan, Mike the Vegan. Now, let me preface this with, I have a lot of respect for Mike. Now, for those of you that don't know, haven't been watching, I used to be a vegan. I was a vegan for 5 years, and Mike was one of the vegans that I followed religiously. He really cares. He cares about health and ethics. He really wants to make the world a better place. So I have a lot of respect for him. But like a lot of people, he is a bit misled on the ketogenic diet. Now, this video was made about a year ago, so a lot has changed, including things on Mike's channel, which I will talk about at the end of this. But I just wanted to take this quick moment to review and respond to this video. It's about a 15-16 minute video. I won't play it in its entirety, but I'll play the key points. I'll put a link to the video down below because I want to give Mike much love if you want to go over there and actually take a look at his channel. He gives a lot of good fitness advice, and also he has now, as I said, his opinion on keto has changed just a little bit. He's actually talking about vegan keto, which I actually did a video on myself. Not for me, but if you're vegan and you really want to adhere to the high-fat lifestyle, it's a great way to go. But anyway, so I just wanted to kind of take some time to respond to this. I have already watched it, full disclosure, because he uses a lot of studies and things, not a lot of gibberish like Jillian Michaels did, so I was able to kind of watch it raw. But he does use a lot of peer-reviewed journals, scientific studies that I had to research, find the studies to be able to talk about. So there's going to be some stopping while I flip up those studies and go over those studies with you. But anyway, let's get started and hear what Mike has to say.
Claims and the going keto narrative and see if it holds up to the research. We're also going to look at some of the unheard warnings of followers of a ketogenic diet, also what happened to one of my viewers when they went keto, and the unforeseen effects in the realm of diet and beyond. Let's start by quickly looking at the basic mechanics of a ketogenic diet, which relies on a state called ketosis, which is normally a starvation state, but the idea is since you're eating enough calories, it's only mimicking starvation. In this state, your body doesn't have enough sugar to run itself and instead converts fat to ketones, which are an energy-carrying acid.
Gonna stop it right there and go ahead and let you know, yes, ketosis, the state that your body goes into when you're on a low-carb diet or not eating, period, the emergency's backup system where your body actually takes fat from your body, breaks it down into ketones, and uses that for energy, is called ketosis. Yes, and so along those lines, biochemically, yes, it does mimic starvation or fasting. But that's one of the great things about keto, because it has been proven over and over again that fasting has a great deal of benefits for the body. Now, you can tell by looking at me, I know I haven't fasted much in my life, but I am down from almost 400 pounds. I'm in the mid-200s. I still have a long way to go. I'm still very overweight, very obese, but I'm getting there thanks to keto. So yes, it does mimic that, and for that reason, there's a lot of beneficial things going on there. So let's keep on with what he's saying. I just wanted to stop it there. Preface, yes, that's absolutely true. It does mimic starvation or fasting, however you want to say it. Same thing.
That can fuel most of your body, but only about 2/3 of a starving brain. The rest must be glucose, which in this case would have to be converted from protein or fat as well. A standard ketogenic diet involves eating 70 to 80.
Okay, that's complete bucko. The fact that your brain does need an amount of glucose to run is not bucko, but the fact that the ketogenic diet does not supply what you need for your brain is complete gibberish and bucko. Okay, there is a process in your body called gluconeogenesis, and that's where your body takes fat or protein, which the ketogenic diet gives you plenty of, breaks it down and converts it into the glucose, the little bit of glucose your body needs, and uses it. So your body still gets the little bit of glucose that your brain needs by making its own. It doesn't need you to take in straight carbs for that to occur. The body's a wonderful thing. So I just wanted to point that out. And along these same lines, guys, here's a study that I found. It's written, or not really a study, but an article based on studies that this author, Shelley Fan, who is a PhD candidate in neuroscience, so she knows her stuff, on the fat-fueled brain, and is it unnatural or even advantageous? I've just repeated the whole title there. But if you look at some of the things in here, first of all, she has a disclaimer here. She's not promoting ketogenic lifestyle, low-carb dieting. She's simply going strictly from the science. So I'm going to preface that. But basically, she talks about what ketosis is and how, yes, it does mimic starvation or fasting, and how your brain kind of responds to that. But if you come on down here, she talks about oxidation and inflammation in your brain, and how actually the ketogenic diet helps reduce inflammation, and has even been shown to show that ketones may be a more efficient fuel than glucose for the brain when it comes to the number of mitochondria or energy factories in brain cells. So basically and here's the study, and there's a link here to it. I'll put the link to this article down below so you can check it out yourself, because I had to read it several times to ingest it all. But basically what she's talking about here is ketones are more efficient for the brain because it promotes the regeneration of mitochondria, the number of mitochondria in the hippocampus, and which is reasoning part of the brain, and it allows for better exchange of firing of neurons, allows for more of the good stuff, essentially. Your brain can actually run more efficiently based on the study that she's quoting here. She follows it up down here by showing you that the ketogenic diet may directly inhibit a major source of neuronal stress. So basically, it allows your brain to work better, and it reduces the stress on the brain that the brain would normally be under when running on glucose. Interesting points there. And when we move down here further, we see she's talking about a study with 23 elderly people that were placed on a ketogenic diet that were already showing symptoms of early stage Alzheimer's or other forms of brain degeneration. When they put them on a ketogenic diet, they found that their clarity increased, that they were able to recall information easier and actually just come out of the fog they were in, for lack of a better term. So basically what she's talking about here is that release of stress actually enables the brain to work better, and a lot of the symptoms that would normally come along with the natural degeneration of memory and things like that that happen with age are actually slowed down. Not cured. I don't think anything can cure aging yet that we found, but it actually slows it down so that people function better and they don't start exhibiting symptoms at early ages. You know, I'm in my 40s. I would not like to be senile by the time I'm 50. So if being on the ketogenic diet can help me with that, I'm all for it. And that's basically what she's saying, that it just allows the brain to function better, prevents a lot of the undue stress. That's why, as Mike even admitted, or will admit, that the ketogenic diet was used as treatment for epileptic children. That's why it was actually developed long before it was used for weight loss and other things. It was to prevent seizures in epileptic children. And that again backs up the reasoning that it reduces the stress on the brain and allows the brain and the neurons to function better. All right, let's get back to Mike and hear what else he has to say.
Treatment for children with epilepsy, and I will cover that more at the end, but because of this, it has been researched for 100 years, so we have scores of well-designed studies on ketogenic diets. Because keto people who are watching this probably won't believe what I, a vegan, has to say about their diet, I want to turn largely to the words of somewhat of a whistleblower within the ketogenic diet community to look at these findings. So to be clear, much of the information in this video is not coming from me at all. Okay, let's look at the words of Paleo Mom, a ketogenic diet advocate and PhD holding nutritional researcher, and here is what her cautionary statements are about the adverse effects of a keto diet. She says keto is, quote, a diet with inherent risk as evidenced by the extensive list of adverse reactions reported in the scientific literature, and this has not yet been a thorough enough part of.
Okay, now he just goes into what the paleo mom is saying. Now, the paleo mom is paleo, which is related to low carb and keto dieting, but it's not strict keto. They incorporate some grains, usually ancient grains, which is a totally different matter. I have nothing against paleo people. I have nothing against any way of eating, as long as it's healthy. Vegan, Weight Watchers, as long as you're not loading up on Oreos and red wine, which tended to be my problem for a long time, and things like that. So anything that makes you healthy, I'm all for. I'm just here to say that keto has worked best for me. But basically, Paleo Mom is talking about it being, as you can see here, a diet with inherent risk, evident by extensive adverse reactions. But when I dug into the report she's talking about, it's a very small percentage of adverse reactions. We'll get into that, but let's continue to hear what he has to say.
With inherent risk as evidenced by the extensive list of adverse reactions reported in the scientific literature, and this has not yet been a thorough enough part of the public discussion on ketogenic diets. She clarifies that adverse effects are not just simple side effects, they are actual dangerous reactions. She then says, quote, "I feel a moral and social obligation to share what I understand of these diets from my perspective as a medical researcher." Okay, here is her list of well-documented adverse effects from a keto diet. If you're from the US, this will sound a...
Okay, like I said, I dug into some of those reports, but I researched some of the studies they're talking about here, and I found a very small proportion of people that had adverse reactions. But let's let him finish, and then I'll take you into some of those reports, and we'll talk about it.
bit like a drug commercial. Gastrointestinal disturbances like diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, constipation, etc. Inflammation risk, thinning hair or hair loss, kidney stones.
Okay, I'm going to take these one at a time. Gastrointestinal disturbances. Yes, during that keto flu period that we all go through, or most of us go through when we're first switching over into fat burning mode or into ketosis, you can sometimes get the upset tummy. So if you drink plenty of water, make sure your electrolytes are balanced, eat a lot of green vegetables and those good fats, you will eventually come out of that. So yes, gastrointestinal disturbances, the diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, constipation, all goes together. And you can combat that by staying hydrated, balancing your electrolytes, and also if you're dirty keto, lazy keto, and you're eating a lot of the sugar-free candies that I've talked about, can also cause that. So it could also just be caused by you eating bad food, not necessarily ketogenic diet. Inflammation, ketogenic diet is the most anti-inflammatory diet, one of the most anti-inflammatory diets you can be on. I mean, bar none. So thinning hair and hair loss, I've never known anyone that actually had that issue with keto. I've always had kind of thin hair, so it didn't really occur to me, but I've never known anybody of all the thousands of people that I talked to on keto have never shown that to be a symptom simply related to the ketogenic diet. But if there's a study out there that proves that, I couldn't find one, but if there's a study out there that proves that, I'd love to read it. Kidney stones, yes. If you're eating too much protein, you can get kidney stones as a result, but as long as you're keeping your protein moderate, which keto does, if you're following those strict macronutrient counts, shouldn't be a problem, and if you drink plenty of water. Let's keep going.
One study found that 5% of children had kidney stones. Children. Muscle cramps or weakness, hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar, low platelet count, impaired concentration / cognition.
Muscle cramps or weakness, again, electrolytes. Hypoglycemia, which low blood sugar, well, your blood sugar stays steady, much lower than it was before, but if you're having really bad dips in your blood sugar, that's something you need to go to a doctor for, of course. But again, just like with inflammation, keto is marvelous for balancing out your blood sugar. Low platelet count. Again, everything that he's talking about here could just be from life and genetics. Nothing's really tied to the ketogenic diet. He did show the study that said children had kidney stones, 6.7%. Very low. If you take in a scientific margin of error, it's very low. It could just account for nuances in those children that they weren't seeing. Let's move on.
That is in people, but for what it's worth, we also have studies showing decreased brain growth in adolescent rats. Next, we have impaired mood and renal tubular acidosis, which is when the kidney fails to remove all the acid because ketones are very acidic. Nutrient deficiencies. Many keto blogs downplay the risk of nutrient deficiencies. These are nutrient deficiencies.
Okay, yes. If you're eating strictly meat, I know there's a lot of carnivore people out there. If that's the way you want to eat, great, but I do believe that green vegetables have a place in our diet. So if you're eating plenty of green vegetables, you shouldn't have a problem. Also, we're eating a lot of meat. Animals naturally need most of the same kind of vitamins we do. We're eating them. That's the only way to put it to you. And so we're getting all of our vitamins from them, the fat soluble, the water soluble, and the micronutrients. We're transferring, especially the fat soluble ones, to us. And then we're eating green vegetables, which are the most nutrient rich vegetables there are, as well as a lot of nuts and seeds, which are also micronutrient heavy, as well as the sun, which is the greatest source of some of the B vitamins that you could do. In fact, even vegans have to supplement. He's leaving that out, that when I was a vegan, I had to supplement. I still have to supplement. I recommend a multivitamin for everybody. So again, he's talking in generalities that just plague modern society as a whole, not necessarily just on keto. I'm going to fast forward ahead just a little bit because it kind of rambles about this, and we're going to get to another side effect that he was talking about. All right, we're back, and he's about to talk about a case of a child that was on the ketogenic diet for epilepsy reasons and died of acute pancreatitis. I want you to listen to this segment, and then I'm going to pull up the study, actually two studies that relate to that, and we're going to talk about it.
Bacterial overgrowth, the hyperlipidemia, which is induced by a very high fat meal of cream or oil or other high fat sources. This makes the blood stack like quarters and creates a traffic jam for your immune cells, preventing them from doing their job. There's pneumonia, acute pancreatitis. This kid died of a heart attack on a ketogenic diet after having acute pancreatitis. The researchers highlight the mechanism that a ketogenic diet caused it in the study. There's long QT intervals, which is an
All right, guys, we are back, and here is that study that I pulled up, acute pancreatitis causing death in a child on the ketogenic diet. Again, I'll put the links to all these studies below so you can check them out for yourself. When we just go through here, it says the ketogenic diet has demonstrated good efficiency in children with pharmacology-resistant seizures, that is, drug-resistant seizures. Relatively few serious complications have been reported in more than the 70 years that the diet has been used. We did report a child who developed acute pancreatitis and died. A 9-year-old girl had a seizure disorder with associated developmental delay owing to glucose transport protein deficiency. The ketogenic diet with using MCT, or, basically coconut oil, had been initiated shortly to control her seizures. She did present in a coma with decreased respiratory effort, eventually had a heart attack, and died. Now, unfortunately for this child, first of all, heart goes out to this child. This happened in 2001, so my heart goes out to this family, and that was a long time ago, but still, that's horrible. But that's really all the study said. She was on the ketogenic diet for her epilepsy. She presented with acute gastroenteritis. The only possible link they could have linked that to was the MCT oil that she was being given as part of her ketogenic diet. It caused her to go into cardiac arrest and die. Very sad, but it was just kind of a loose correlation. They didn't really dive into it to say, hey, specifically, this is what caused it. It was just kind of a loose correlation. Even they say there's been very few incidents on this diet, in fact, almost none at all on this diet, that would not fall within that realm of human scientific causation error. So, very loosely related study that can be blown up for dramatic purposes. Also, I found another study that was basically talking about long-term effects and adverse effects in children of the ketogenic diet. This study was actually conducted about 3 years after the report about the child dying. And they basically, in this study, again, I'll put the links below, 129 patients who were all on a ketogenic diet for 6 years, 1995 till 2001, which was about the time that little girl that we were discussing earlier died. And basically, these were the results. I'm just going to quickly go over them. 22% of the children, or 22 of the children, 17% of the children suffered some pancreatitis from the diet or not. We don't know, but they did suffer that over the 5-year period, and they ceased the ketogenic diet because of that and went on to other treatments for their epilepsy. 4 of the children, 3.1%, did die while on the ketogenic diet. 2 of sepsis, 1 of cardiomyopathy, which leads me to believe that's that little girl we just talked about, and 1 of lipoid pneumonia. Again, sepsis infection could have had a variety of causes. So could the pneumonia. Even though it was lipoid pneumonia, possibly there was a connection there. But again, all this is just kind of loose causation. And the results of this study, because they do understand scientific error does exist, is that most of the complications of the ketogenic diet are transient, can be managed easily with various conservative treatments, and it's fine. Any life-threatening complications should be monitored closely and adjusted for. The doctors aren't freaking out and stopping using the ketogenic diet for the treatment of epilepsy in children because of these, because they know there could be various other factors that affected it. The ketogenic diet was just one variable because all the children happen to be on it for treatment of their epilepsy. So it's all very loosely correlated. All right, full disclosure, I skipped ahead just a few minutes once he finished talking about the case of the child we just discussed. Now he's talking about higher levels of cholesterol in people on a ketogenic diet. So let's jump in that, and I have some studies that relate to that as well.
The adverse effects that she mentioned. Let's look a few months back to one of my earlier viewers who will remain anonymous, but let's just say they had keto in their name, so they were really into it. As you can see, they were eating a pretty standard keto diet dominated by eggs and oil and meat and butter. Their fasting cholesterol was at 440. That is deadly. At first, their doctor was like, oh, you're 400 cholesterol, that's just genetic, there's nothing you can do. But then they went on a plant-based diet and their cholesterol level shot down to around 150, which is considered ideal, and that was the largest transformation.
If you're not eating cholesterol, which most vegan diets are void of cholesterol, which you do need because your body actually makes it, are not eating any cholesterol and you're only relying on what your body can make, yes, your cholesterol levels will fall dramatically. But does that mean that the raised cholesterol was in response to the keto diet? His doctor already said it could be or was genetic. So again, loose causation because he happened to be on a ketogenic diet at the time. In fact, I'm about to pull up another study here that studied adults long-term on the ketogenic diet with the results that they got, and they addressed many issues such as cholesterol, kidney stones, things of that nature. I'm going to pull that up for you. One moment. All right, here is that study again. I'll put it below. These are all reviews in scientific journals, medical journals. These are not just keto.com, reviewing some stuff. This is all science and stuff. So keep that in mind. Long-term effects of ketogenic diet in obese patients. Basically, they're talking about they put several patients who were very obese, 39 men, 44 women, on a ketogenic regimen of no more than 30 carbs per day, which is right in that keto window of 20 to 50, for 24 weeks and monitored everything. And the results were pretty good. The results were the weight and body mass index of the patient decreased significantly. Total cholesterol decreased from 1 week to the 24th week. HDL cholesterol significantly increased, the good cholesterol. LDL and triglycerides decreased. So total cholesterol went up, but it was the good cholesterol, which has long been something connected with the keto diet. And the level of blood glucose significantly decreased because you're not eating straight up carbs anymore, or the bad carbs. And the changes in the level of urea, uric acid, and creatine were not significant. So this study kind of debunks everything Mike just said about high acid levels, high cholesterol, low blood sugar at dangerous levels. This was a good sampling of adults that showed that all of those things either remained the same or improved on a ketogenic diet. And again, everything that he said was kind of loosely correlated with the keto diet. These things were happening to a couple of people that just happened to be on a keto diet, not taking any other factors into into consideration. And the science is ever changing on keto. It's not a fad, as he said. It's becoming a way of life because it's the way we should be eating, in my opinion. It seems to be coming to be the scientific community's way of eating as well. But for the purposes of this being my video, I'm going to say it's my opinion. All right. So for a few more minutes, he goes on about high cholesterol, high uric acid, which again, this is a scientific study that proves that's not the case. And then he gets into other issues, mainly with water retention. I'm going to shoot back. We're going to do that as well as wrap up the video.
And finally, from a logical perspective, if you are training your body to store fat and burn fat, what happens when a preferred source of calories, glucose, comes and replaces the burning of the fat? Then you just have that storage mechanism. Calories, glucose comes and replaces the burning of.
It's stored. I can tell you exactly what happens. It is stored, just like you said, but usually it's stored in the liver and the muscles as glucose that will be used later, not as fat on your body. What causes fat on your body is when you're eating an overabundance of carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises, the body has to get the blood out of the blood because it's that much glucose in your bloodstream is deadly to your body. Every scientific study says this, has to get rid of it. So because you can't burn it, you're not doing enough activity to burn it off, your body has to immediately put it into fat stores, especially if your muscles and your liver is full, which if you are a sugar burner, I guarantee you they are. So if you're on a ketogenic diet and you're already burning fat, you take in more carbs than you normally would, it's stored where it should be, in the liver and the muscles, and not in fat.
Of the fat, then you just have that storage mechanism left over. Next, I want to really quickly look at another reason that people go on a ketogenic diet, and that is to hopefully boost their athletic performance. But as this study shows, people on a ketogenic diet are more tired and have less of a desire to exercise, and no matter
No.
what goal you're trying to achieve in athletics, that's
No. Yeah. If you're a sugar burner and you go into a ketogenic way, you will hit that initial wall. But once your body fully adapts to the ketogenic diet, I'll put a link below of an ultra marathoner, an ultra runner that fuels his body with fat because it's a good sustained energy source. If you're burning on glucose, you get that burst and then you crash. You have to continuously feed your body. If you're already burning the fat that's on your body, or you're burning fat, you have sustained energy. So you can keep going. Once your body makes the full switch from burning sugar to burning fat. Let's move on.
Like any world sprinting records by people in ketosis because they have depleted glycogen stores. Many sources also say that building muscle is not ideal on a ketogenic diet because carbs play a.
Not only is it ideal on a ketogenic diet, it also prevents the muscle loss that you would normally get on a calorie restricting or high sugar diet, because once you go into that state, your body will sometimes turn to, when you're not fully adapted to burning the fat on your body will turn to eating the muscle. So it is found that on a ketogenic diet, though building muscle may be slower, the amount of actual muscle that is retained from the time you started the diet until present is much reduced. That is, you don't lose as much muscle. You retain the muscle that you have on your body and slowly build more. It's not like zoom, zoom, zoom. You're building a lot of muscle. No, but no diet does that. But it does retain the muscle on your body because you're getting adequate fuel, adequate nutrients, and adequate protein.
But I think the main point here is that no, you cannot claim these epilepsy benefits of a ketogenic diet while simultaneously ignoring the adverse effects which.
No, we don't. I just showed you studies which absolutely acknowledge any adverse effects that have been noted in patients on ketogenic diet for purposes of treatment of epilepsy. We're not ignoring it, we're just pointing out it's a very low, ultra low percentage, and falls well within a margin of error. That's all I'm saying.
Which were discovered in the exact same studies, and that is exactly what the ketogenic diet community is doing. That being said, yes, I do find the idea of powering the brain with ketones promising and.
Really? Maybe that's why you're now actually adhering and talking about, acknowledging and talking about Vegan keto.
Hopeful, but I do not think it's necessary to have a ketogenic diet that is animal-based and high cholesterol.
Okay, boom. There we go. He's not saying keto is bad. He's been rambling on for 14 odd minutes talking about keto is bad, keto is bad. When it's not keto, it's bad. It's simply eating of animals that he considers bad. So it all goes back, I guess, to vegan dogma. And if you're a vegan, more power to you. I go to a keto way of eating on it if you can. But again, all goes back to vegan dogma.
Cholesterol, and there is a possibility that we don't have to do this through diet at all. As this study shows, we can raise blood levels of ketones simply by eating ketones.
Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to ingest pharmaceutical, supplemental, FDA regulated or even non-regulated stuff into your body when your body can do it naturally? I thought veganism was all about the natural approach. Why would you want, when you just acknowledge that perhaps the brain does power better on ketones, why would you want to introduce the ketones into your body? Why not just eat the meat and let your body, or eat the fat, whether it comes from meat or plant-based, and let your body do it naturally? Doesn't make any sense.
This study demonstrates the efficacy and tolerability of oral exogenous ketone supplementation in inducing nutritional ketosis independent of dietary restriction. Finally, yes, a vegan keto diet does exist and people are experimenting with this, but unless you have a very dire condition, it's doubtful that the potential adverse effects are worth it because your body is still going to reach that acidified state. But moving past personal health,
Okay. So he's just kind of circled back. That's all he continues to do, is just kind of circle back on his things, coming from a personal standpoint. But basically, it just kind of boils down to vegan dogma as to why he's so against carnivore or animal-based ketogenic diet. And that's his jam. I completely applaud him for that. I don't happen to share that is a view of ethics. When I was a vegan purely for what I thought were health reasons. But again, I'll put the video of why I left the vegan lifestyle down below. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this response video. Thank you for sticking with me. It's been a long video, a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but it did take me a while to break down everything. So thank you again, guys. Thanks for all the subscribers, new subscribers, all the wonderful comments. I'm going to try to answer each and every one of them. If I don't get to you, I'm sorry. It doesn't mean I'm not thinking about you. But anyway, continue. Please like, comment, subscribe. Tracy Barkley, Keto Comic, out.